"You're trespassing," she said. "This entire subdivision belongs to the HOA." I looked at her, then down at the brand new asphalt under my boots. "Funny," I said. "Because that asphalt you're standing on, that's my land." She blinked, confused for half a second, then smirked. A guard stopped behind her. Workers froze. Kids pedaled past on new bikes, kids about the same age as my daughter, Lila. 96 houses. Paved roads, streetlights, manicured lawns where pines once stood. My chest tightened. A white Range Rover idled behind her, spotless and loud. She was mid-50s, hair sprayed into defiance, linen so white it hurt to look at. "I'm Karen Whitmore," she said, voice smooth as glass. "President of the Ridgeline Heights HOA. You must be lost." "Not lost," I said, showing her the deed photo. 47 acres. William Flint Estate. Karen smiled, that tight, condescending smile only people who've never been told no can pull off. "Our lawyer confirmed this parcel was abandoned. Adverse possession. Legally, it's ours now." She snapped a picture of my license plate. "Just in case you decide to vandalize anything." I didn't shout. Didn't curse. I just thought of Lila and the treehouse my grandfather built for her the summer before he passed. Gone, buried under someone's driveway. I memorized Karen's face, every line of it. Because one day, she'd hear my name again. In court. Karen thought she'd built her dream community. I let her finish it. Every last house before I tore that dream apart. That night I couldn't sleep. Lila was staying with me for the week, curled up on the couch under Grandpa's old quilt. "Adverse possession," Karen had said like it was a spell that erased bloodlines. I cleared the kitchen table and spread out every scrap of proof, tax receipts, survey maps, Grandpa's deed. The paper was yellow at the edges, ink fading, but his name still burned through. William Flint. He'd carved one line into the back of that deed. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." Back then, I'd thought it was just Grandpa being dramatic. Now, it was prophecy. Every April, I'd paid those taxes, not one late. If the land was abandoned, then so was honesty itself. Lila woke up and wandered in, rubbing her eyes. "Dad, why are you mad at paper?" I smiled. "Because sometimes paper lies, kiddo," she pointed at the map. "That's Grandpa's forest, right?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "And we're getting it back." I tucked her back in, then stared at that deed till sunrise. Somewhere in those pages was the bullet that would end Karen Whitmore's empire. I had the proof, but I needed a weapon. And the woman who'd hand it to me didn't fight with fists. She fought with the law. By Monday morning, I'd called every real estate office in the county. Each one gave me the same polite lie. "Sorry, sir. That land was transferred years ago." Transferred. Without me, I'm not the shouting type. I fix engines for a living. I solve problems with tools, not tantrums. But this was different. The last number led to Whitmore Development, LLC. Their lawyer, Brian Keir, had a voice slick as oil. "Mr. Flint, we understand you're confused," he said. "Our client is prepared to offer a settlement, $15,000 for a quitclaim deed." "15,000?" I said. "You built 96 homes on my property." He chuckled. "Generous offer considering your lack of documentation." Then he hung up. I stared at the phone, heat crawling up my neck. Lila's school picture sat beside it, grinning, gap-toothed. I wasn't just fighting for land anymore. I was fighting for her, so she'd know some things are worth standing up for. That's when I found Lydia Chen. Her office smelled of coffee and dust. Late 50s, sharp eyes behind thin glasses, voice like calm thunder. She listened without interrupting, then said, "They built on your land." Not beside it. "That's fraud." I told her I couldn't afford a long fight. She smiled. "Then don't fight. Wait, let them finish. Every brick they lay becomes evidence. Then you pull the deed like a trigger." That day, I learned revenge doesn't always come with rage. Sometimes it wears reading glasses and speaks in legal code. When Lydia said, "Wait," I thought she was joking. Patience was never my strong suit, especially not when someone like Karen Whitmore was smiling on the other side of town, probably planning her next HOA meeting. But Lydia didn't blink. "You wait," she said again. "Let them finish every inch. Roads, fences, mailboxes. The more they build, the more they owe you. You don't stop a thief halfway through a robbery. You let them load the truck, then catch them driving off. So I waited. I still had to see it with my own eyes, though. Some nights, after Lila fell asleep, I'd drive up to the ridge and park where the tree line used to start. From there, I could see the rooftops shining under the moonlight, a whole village built on my bloodline. They thought I was gone. Karen's HOA newsletters bragged about a thriving new community. Her photo was everywhere. Perfect hair, perfect lies. One night, Lila climbed into my lap as I sat at the table sorting receipts again. "Are we losing, Dad?" she asked. I smiled, kissed her forehead. Not even close. Lydia was right. Let them build their dream. Let them get comfortable. Every brick, every nail, every driveway was becoming mine again. They thought I'd vanished, but I was watching, silent, patient, collecting every mistake they made, one document at a time. Waiting was easy in theory. In practice, it felt like swallowing fire. Every few weeks, I'd drive out to the ridge, same old truck, same dirt turnout, and watch them build. Karen's Range Rover came and went like clockwork. Contractors in neon vests waved blueprints and barked orders. I took pictures from a distance, timestamps, lot numbers, license plates, evidence. At home, Lydia built folders thicker than phone books. She called it controlled silence. I called it torture. The HOA started noticing me. A letter came first. Cease trespassing near Ridgeline Heights property line. Then 2 sheriff visits. One deputy said, "You again?" With that tired look cops get when they know money's involved. Karen wanted to scare me off. But fear is a funny thing. Once you've buried a man like my grandfather, you don't scare easily. I played it smart. No arguments, no confrontations. Just quiet documentation. Every HOA newsletter bragging about community milestones. Every new home closing, I saved it all. Lila drew a picture one night, me and her under pine trees that no longer existed. She wrote, "We'll get it back, Dad." I pinned it above my desk. Right next to Karen's newsletter. Patience wasn't weakness anymore. It was a loaded gun. They thought I was just some guy taking photos, until the day their own signatures became the rope they'd hang from. It started small, a rumor here, a whisper there. By the time I noticed, Karen had declared war. One morning, I found a stack of flyers taped to my truck windshield. Warning, trespasser, dangerous individual. My face, grainy and dark, was printed right beside the Ridgeline Heights logo. Karen's words spread faster than wildfire. By noon, the local Facebook group was filled with posts. Man claiming false ownership, harassing families. Someone tagged my business page. My repair shop's phone stopped ringing. When I called the sheriff's office to file a complaint, the deputy sighed. "Mr. Flint, maybe stay away from that development. It's causing tension." Tension. That's what they called a public lynching with Wi-Fi. Lila asked why people online were calling me a thief. I told her, "Because I'm standing somewhere powerful people don't want me to." She nodded, serious beyond her years, and went back to her homework. That night, I drove to the ridge again. The houses were finished now, porches lit, mailboxes up. Karen's Range Rover sat parked at the clubhouse, her reflection in the glass door as she laughed with another board member. They thought they'd broken me. But humiliation has a strange side effect. It burns slow, like fuel, and I was almost ready to light the match. They stole my name, my work, my peace, but soon they'd learn there's one thing they can't control, the truth. The noise got louder. The silence at home got heavier. Clients stopped bringing their cars to my shop. The landlord hinted that drama wasn't good for business, and every time I passed a Ridgeline Heights sign, I felt that old anger crawl up my throat. One night, Lila caught me staring at the ceiling long after midnight. "Are we going to be okay, Dad?" she whispered. I wanted to tell her yes. I wanted to lie. But the truth was, I didn't know anymore. When she fell asleep, I went to the garage and pulled out Grandpa's old wooden box. Inside was his hammer, still stained from years of work, and the folded deed he'd left me. His handwriting on the back, "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." I pressed my thumb against those words until the paper crinkled. I'd let them call me a liar, a thief, a joke. But I wouldn't let them erase him. Not his name. Not his land. So I called Lydia, told her I was done waiting for karma. She said, "Good, because tomorrow we make our move." I hung up and looked at Lila's drawing pinned to the fridge. Us under the tall pines. Maybe they'd cut them down, but roots don't die that easily. The next morning, I walked into that courthouse with nothing but a folder, and the storm I'd been saving for years. The courthouse smelled like old wood and nerves. Karen Whitmore sat 2 rows ahead, pearl earrings flashing like victory medals. Her lawyer, Brian Keir, whispered confidently beside her, that smug grin I'd memorized from the phone call plastered across his face. Lydia didn't say a word. She just slid a thick folder across the table toward the clerk. Flint versus Whitmore Development, case number 2187. Karen turned slightly, caught my eye, and smiled, a smile that said, "You're wasting your time." Then Lydia stood. Calm, sharp, surgical. "Your Honor," she began, "this isn't a land dispute. This is theft, documented, deliberate, and provable." She handed the judge 1 page, just one. An email dated 2 years before construction began, from Brian Keir to Karen Whitmore. It read, "The Flint parcel appears active on tax records. Recommend falsifying abandonment claim before filing permits." You could feel the oxygen leave the room. Brian's face went white. Karen's hand trembled as she reached for the paper. The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Whitmore, is this your attorney's email?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. For the first time since I'd met her, Karen Whitmore didn't look powerful. She looked small. Lydia leaned toward me and whispered, "That's the first brick. Will, watch how fast the wall falls." Their smiles vanished that day, but the real collapse hadn't even started yet. The news hit faster than a wildfire. By noon, the courthouse leak was everywhere. Screenshots of the email. Headlines on local blogs. HOA president accused of land fraud. Whitmore Development under investigation. Karen tried to play it off, of course. A press release, fake smiles, claims of clerical errors. But the internet doesn't forgive arrogance. Within a week, homeowners were knocking on her door, demanding refunds, threatening lawsuits. Lydia and I watched it unfold from her office TV. "Never underestimate small-town gossip," she said, sipping her coffee. "It spreads faster than any subpoena." The sheriff's department called me in for a statement. For once, the deputy didn't look bored. He shook my hand. "Hell of a mess you stirred up, Mr. Flint," he said. "Wasn't me," I told him. "They built their own mess. I just owned the dirt underneath it." Karen's Range Rover disappeared from the clubhouse lot a few days later. Rumor was she'd left town to visit family. Brian Keir resigned from his firm. And those perfect HOA meetings? Canceled. Indefinitely. Lydia filed the final motion to reclaim full title. When the judge signed it, she just nodded. "It's done, Will. You've got your land back." But sitting there, deed in hand, I realized winning on paper didn't feel like victory yet, because I could have taken everything they built. But part of me wondered if there was a better kind of justice. The courtroom was quieter this time. No cameras, no reporters, just paper, wood, and truth. Karen sat at the defense table. No pearls, no power suit. Just a gray blazer and hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Brian wasn't there. Word was he'd been disbarred pending investigation. The judge flipped through the folder one last time, then looked up. "Mr. Flint, by order of this court, all property known as the Ridgeline Heights Development reverts to your legal ownership. You are entitled to full restitution and damages." The words echoed like thunder. Lydia squeezed my shoulder, calm as always. "You just won $4 million and 47 acres, Will." Across the aisle, Karen whispered something to herself. Maybe an apology, maybe a prayer. The gavel came down, and just like that, 3 years of silence, humiliation, and patience turned into victory. But as I walked out into the sunlight, deed in hand, I didn't feel like celebrating, because when I looked at those houses, the porches, the kids, the life built on stolen ground, I didn't see enemies anymore. I saw families who just wanted a place to belong. Lila grabbed my hand. "Did we win, Dad?" I looked down at her, smiled. Yeah, kiddo, but not the way they think. I could have torn it all down, every brick, every road. But instead, I decided to build something they'd never expect. I stood on the ridge where it all began. The wind cut through the valley, carrying the echo of hammers, children laughing, dogs barking, life. For years, I'd dreamed about tearing it all down, leveling every house, turning ridgeline heights back into forest. But standing there now, I realized something. If I destroyed their homes, I'd be no better than the people who paved over mine. Lydia handed me a folder. Developers are offering to buy it all back, Will. Big money. You could walk away set for life. I shook my head. Money's what poisoned it in the first place. So I made a choice. I kept 1 acre, the old ridgeline where Grandpa's cabin once stood, and signed over the rest to the families living there. No charge, no lawsuits, no eviction notices. Lila helped me plant a small wooden sign on the hill. It read, Flint Preserve, built on what's right. Karen's name disappeared from the records. Lydia smiled for the first time in months. And for the first time in years, I slept without anger sitting in my chest. The land was mine again. Not through power, not through revenge, but through peace. But just when I thought the story was over, one final letter arrived, and it wasn't from the HOA. A week after the verdict, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just my name written in perfect cursive. Inside was a single photograph. The old cabin, rebuilt. Not the same, but close enough. The porch, the pine tree stump Grandpa used as a workbench, and even the swing I used to sit on as a kid. No note, no signature, just that image. I drove out there that evening. The sunset poured over the valley like melted copper. The new neighborhood sat quiet below, porch lights flickering on one by one. And on the ridge, right where the old chimney used to be, someone had left flowers. Lila climbed up beside me, her hair whipping in the wind. Grandpa would have liked this, she said softly. Yeah, I said. He would have liked that we didn't let them take it. We sat there in silence, listening to the valley breathe again. I'd spent years chasing revenge, but in the end, what I found was something else entirely. Respect. The land didn't need to be reclaimed. It just needed to be remembered. When the first stars appeared, Lila leaned her head on my shoulder. Are we home now, Dad? I smiled. We always were. But before I left the ridge that night, I made a promise, one that would outlive both of us. Before I left the ridge that night, I planted one last thing, a wooden stake carved with 4 words. Patience is power. Always. It wasn't about land anymore. It was about what that land taught me, that justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it watches. And when the time's right, it speaks louder than any hammer ever could. Grandpa used to say the soil remembers who tends it. Maybe that's true because the next spring, wild grass started growing again between the driveways. Tiny reminders that no matter how much you cover something up, truth has a way of breaking through concrete. I kept that ridge open to anyone who wanted to walk it. Kids play where the pines once stood, families picnic near the creek. And every now and then someone asks, why is it called Flint Preserve? I tell them, because it took a man losing everything to remember what really mattered. If you've ever been pushed down, stolen from, or silenced, remember this. Patience isn't weakness. It's the quiet kind of strength that outlasts greed every time. If this story hit home for you, drop your thoughts below. Have you faced your own HOA nightmare or fought back against something unfair? Share it. Your story might be the one that helps someone else keep fighting. And if you believe good people still win, hit subscribe, because we've got more stories that prove it.